Hey everyone, it's Christian. Before the episode starts, just want to let you know we had some technical difficulties and Kevin's recording unfortunately stopped about an hour and a half into the conversation, so pardon the awkwardness. I tried my best to cut around it. You'll hear me narrate post-edited transitions to different topics, but enjoy the episode. Hope you enjoy it. It should be fixed next week. Hello everyone and welcome back to the Longplay Club. This is the beginning of Metal Gear Solid 4 Guns of the Patriots. I am your host, Christian Buckley. My actual code name, Panther.
What?
Yeah.
Okay. I like that.
I'm joined by my, very briefly, brother, Scorpion, Kevin Diaz. How are you?
Greetings. Metal Gear Solid 4, baby. Oof. Cloud 9, guys. We're riding high. Good stuff. Can't wait to talk about it. Can't wait.
Absolutely. Also joining us is Jack Martin, codename Pigeon.
2 words, gentlemen. Crouch walking. They did it.
Yes, King. Yes,
They
King.
finally did it. And I'm so happy about it.
It's almost revolutionary, It's just wonderful.
Truly.
And rounding out the Long Play Club, continuing on for the Metal Gear Solid playthrough series, we have Omar Nakvi, codename Jaguar.
What's up? You can't see me right now, but I'm playing Fortnite. And it's great to be here.
When are they adding Snake? That's coming,
Snake
right?
in Fortnite, data mined as well as Peter Griffin.
Wait, really?
No, I am lying.
Oh,
Peter Griffin, possibility.
You're being serious.
And I'm actually not playing Fortnite. I'm sorry to throw you off
That's
there.
tragic.
yeah.
Hey, yo, I mean, we got that Aloy skin coming up. That's cool.
Sure
cool
do.
to buy that. You know what I'm saying?
Well, this is the first chapter of Metal Gear Solid 4 Guns of the Patriots for the Long Play Club. If you are on the YouTube version of the show, as you may be wondering, there is no video this week dealing with technical difficulties. Hopefully things should be ironed out by next week. But today we're coming via codec. We are continuing on. Last week we wrapped up Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater, the worst game in the series so far. And we're diving into Metal Gear Solid 4 Guns of the Patriots today, the first Metal Gear game on the PlayStation 3. And I think before we dive into the minutiae of everything, we can just, as we normally do at the beginning of each game so far, go through the returning players here, myself, Jack, and Omar, our histories with Metal Gear Solid 4, and then some very brief stuff about Kevin's predictions as he was kicking the game up, and then initial thoughts. So, Jack, Metal Gear Solid 4, what's your history with it? Let's hear it.
This was the first Metal Gear Solid game I played, which is
Really?
not a good game to jump into. Yeah, it's like jumping into Return of the Jedi for some reason.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, my buddy had a copy of this. We recently, at the time, got PlayStation 3s, and he got a copy of this game and lent it to me, played through it. I loved it. I had no clue what was happening in the story. But I think I played it around 2013, 2014-ish. So it was like not too far removed from the actual release of the game. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. And it's a very strange entry for this to be my first entry into the series, but I thought it was a really strong one. And definitely made an impression to make me want to go out and eventually get the Legacy Collection and then play through this again with all of them.
Very nice. Omar, what is your history with, I almost said Snake Eater, with Guns of the Patriots?
We had a PS3 pretty early on. And if you remember, those first couple of PS3 years are pretty dark. There were no games on it. All you could do was maybe grilled steaks or watch slideshows, make some eggs. I don't know. It was you could fold at home. You could do cancer research on that thing, I think. Mm-hmm. But yeah, there wasn't any games really, and I was like, I don't know, like 10 or 11 when this game came out. Anyways, yeah, I just wanted to play something on this thing, and Metal Gear Solid 4 looked really cool, and I remember trying to get my mom to let me play it, but she said no, game's rated M, and I was like, all right. And it took like a year of convincing her, and eventually it led to me making a PowerPoint telling her why I was mature enough to play this game. And yeah, it worked. So I played this in the summer of 2009, just after I finished 5th grade. And yeah, similar to Jack, my first Metal Gear Solid game, which is definitely a weird one to start on, but yeah.
Yeah, 2 questions then. One, I know you said you watched your older brother play previous entries. Did you play this after watching those?
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
But
so you had some sort of context.
I had a little bit of context. Like, I had seen Metal Gear Solid 1, right? And then I had, like, seen half of 2 and half of 3, maybe?
Okay.
So it was still kind of jumbled up. But yeah.
The other question, do you still have this PowerPoint?
No, I wish. It has to be somewhere. If I can find it, I would love to. I remember specifically I had a shot of, Snake on the sculpture hiding, like, obscuring that guy's balls. Like, right? I know I had that there being like, look, Mom, it's actually about censoring that content yourself and becoming mature or something. But
was it all in Comic Sans?
No, it was Times New Roman. I was serious. I needed to make a point. Yeah, all business.
Very nice.
Oh, I actually have one more thing I can add to. Like, do you remember this game getting a mobile version as well, like an iPhone?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Metal Gear Solid Touch, I actually did play before I got convinced my mom to let me play this one, because that was in the App Store, and I could cheat and say, oh, I need an iTunes gift card for the new Black Eyed Peas album, but I was actually just paying for this. So yeah, the actual first time I played Metal Gear Solid 4 was through that mobile version, so I had a layout of the story.
Oh my god.
But that was by no means the full experience at all. But
right.
But yeah, that's it. Oh, wait. Okay, one more story. Once I made the PowerPoint, my cousin Jamal was here as well over the summer. He's from Australia. And, it took me a while to convince my parents to let me play this game. So once I did, I was like, all right. And I made a real ritual out of it. Like, I'm going to take the disc out. I'm going to put it in. I'm going to make myself a nice cup of tea. And Jamal had press play on the game. He launched it for me. And this led to like a pretty serious fight that 10 years after the fact, I kind of don't know why I made such a big deal out of it, because all I did was press play and, the thing was at the pause screen, but I needed to make sure I started the game myself, do you get what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah.
Yeah.
But that's really, it was a formative summer, to be honest.
Yeah, sounds like it.
Yeah. Thank you.
So
I just want to mention that was the Boom Boom Pow era of the Black Eyed
Yes.
Peas.
Oh yes. Elite. Fire.
Yeah.
That was middle school dance era. Like,
oh, absolutely.
100%.
I can tell you something about that specifically if you want to hear it.
Yes.
Yes.
So my 5th grade class, Christian was kind of there as well.
Yes.
It was Mrs. Lewis. We were doing we got the idea to like put on a talent show for the school, and the teacher let us do it too. Like, and the principal approved it. It was kind of cool. I think. I don't know. It was 5th grade. It felt like some real business adult shit. I don't know. But yeah, people had to audition for the talent show, and I was like, let me audition. I think I could do this, and I did a performance of Boom Boom Pow, legit, as my talent, and I didn't get in.
What?
Yeah, they didn't let me in. It was like our own class, and they didn't let me do it, which was unfortunate.
Yeah, it's funny you bring up middle school, Omar, because I think one of my first things with Metal Gear Solid 4 is we had a woodshop teacher who in his classroom when we were working on like benches and stuff, in the top of a shelf there was a box that was like the special edition gunmetal PS3 with old Snake on it, and he just had the box for his Metal Gear Solid 4 gunmetal PS3 in woodshop. So I was like, that looks cool. And then I never sort of like looked into it, but at that point I think, or go ahead.
I think I asked him if I was his PS3 or not, because like this is Mr. White, right? Rest in peace. He was a legend.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, I think I had the idea that wasn't like his PS3.
Really?
Like, I think it was just like he said his student or one of his like maybe his son, I don't know, like he just got that box and inherited it for some reason and just displayed it.
Did you go up and ask him, "Are you an otaku too?"
No, I should have.
Oh man, yeah, that's so strange because I always just assumed it was his. You know, like woodshop teacher likes a military game. It's like, okay, fair enough, it makes sense. You know,
It may have been. It totally may have been. It was like you didn't see video games at that school. I feel like
no, not at all. But
you just had that box, and to say that you had a PS3 in 6th grade was like you were flaunting cash, right? That thing was $600. It was a flex. So like
higher tax bracket.
Yeah, seriously, it was a recession.
That's very true. I have a weird middle school memory where this dude, he loved Nintendo, and like we weren't really friends, but I never really picked on him, whatever. Or like I just never really talked to him. But a lot of people picked on this one kid, and he would always, say that, Snake was OP in Smash, and that you shouldn't ever use Snake in Smash. So that was that. Also,
Really?
yeah, that, and then also, gentlemen, huge oversight in my Metal Gear background. I forgot that I bought Metal Gear Survive and I was gonna play it like 2-3 years ago when it first came out.
I remember that.
Do you
I
sell
think
that
I
copy?
did play it. No, I bought a digital copy, so I'm pretty sure I have it.
All right, so we'll need it in a few weeks. So
All right, say less. Say less. I got it.
I bet that game plays very well.
Oh,
If
yeah.
it's based on like MGS5 gameplay mechanics and like on the Fox engine, I bet that game plays pretty incredibly.
But
I'll
like,
never know.
how did we get to zombies though?
There's an alternate
money,
dimension
Kevin.
or something. I forget.
yeah, it's a wormhole.
Damn.
I think.
Damn. It's a big hoop to jump through, I guess. Big hoop.
Yeah, I mean, they've jumped the shark in this series many times. So I never played 4 before. Like, this is my first time playing 4, so I'm really excited about that. And because I forget a lot of this game. I binged the entire series, as I've said before. The week 5 came out, and 4, because I did not have a PS3, I played the collection on my brother's 360. I was not able in any way, shape, or form to play Guns of the Patriots, so I watched a 14-hour recut of Guns of the Patriots literally the day before 5 came out, and I just sat down and watched it all day. That's what I did that day. So some of the story stuff I remember, like major stuff, like the really big things, I think I remember fine, but all the in-betweens is completely new to me, it feels like.
I feel like it's really hard to remember like the specific granular details of any Metal Gear game, because like I played all of them at least once through, and I remember the big plot points like what you said, Christian, but like no way could I have told you about anything that happened in MGS2, So
Yeah,
I think
fair.
I'm with you. It's hard to remember like all the small details because they're very complex and sometimes convoluted games.
Yeah, it's very much the iconic moments. Like Snake Eater, I remembered the ladder. I remembered shooting boss and like stuff like that. But there's definitely the things I remember about 4 are in that camp. But yeah, you're right. It's a lot of here in the now. How important is this? Not like stuff that sticks with you. But Kevin, was somebody gonna say something?
Yes.
Yeah, I was. If you don't mind,
Go for
Oh,
it.
no,
real
please.
quick.
Please, Omar, please.
I was gonna say I feel like I remember a lot about this game so far, but it might just be this act. I wonder if it'll keep up. But like maybe because I feel like this is one of the first games I was like following trailers for or watching it a bunch, or guess. But like a lot of those moments in the first act, like just like camera moments and like just the general horror and freak show of that, like showing up there. I kind of like, I remember like the laughing gas stuff like that. But
Yeah, like we'll get to it, but like I remember the Johnny stuff. I remember the scene with Meryl, and like I didn't realize it was that soon in the game. Like I remember a lot of stuff like that. It's just more of like the intricacies and stuff with Otacon, and like the Metal Gear Mark II and stuff like that. I completely forgot about that. Like it's very much the more granular stuff, not really big picture or character moments things.
sure.
Kevin, going into this game for the first time, you gave your predictions last week. You had no idea what was coming. I think all of us were there for the moment of realization in the stream, but for listeners that might not have been there, walk us through what it was like realizing the main character, the era, what story you were picking up with, all that stuff. Your first time seeing Metal Gear Solid 4.
A huge exhale, a huge like thank God, like thank God, like This feels like the third game I wish we got. You know, hey, it took an extra game to get there. Cool. Now I know a lot about Big Boss now. Cool. You know, will we go back to that? I don't know. Is it in this game? Is that what MGS5 is about? I don't know. But bottom line, I'm just happy that we have my boy Solid Snake, old Snake. You know what I'm saying? Now, Otacon's back in the mix. To hear Colonel's voice again, I was like, oh, let's go. Like, let's go. You know? Like, this is the prime Metal Gear stuff right here. I'm very excited. Very, very excited. You know? At first, it was apprehension. Like, even last week, I was like, hey, I've heard of this, hour and a half cutscene. Give me a 2-hour one. I'm good. I'm here for it. I'm ready for it. Very, very excited. Very excited.
That is fantastic to hear. So we will get into the opening of this game very briefly, but first, difficulties. What are we playing on? I'm using Naked Normal right now. I asked Jack what the difference was between Naked Normal and Solid Normal. It's kind of inconsequential, it seems like, maybe, but...
Yeah, because I'm playing on Solid Normal, which is... There's 4 options. I believe this is the third of the fourth, and it's the one that the game instantly sort of puts you on before you can change it. And I believe the differences between Solid Normal and the other normal is just, like, enemies can see you from further away, essentially, and just minute things like that, so nothing too major.
Nice. So we got a Naked Normal over here. We got a Solid Normal. Omar, what are you playing on?
I'm also a Solid Normal this time.
Nice.
Might bump it down. I don't know. But yeah.
And Kevin, are you going with Liquid Easy or are you on Naked Normal? What's up?
I am on Liquid Easy, you know what I'm saying? And definitely getting into this game, I could probably do this game no problem on any of the, Naked Normal or Solid Normal, whatever. But just due to me streaming the whole thing, wanting to keep streaming the whole thing, just in the essence of time, and I'm just here for the plot, The gameplay is great. Gameplay is great, but I'm in it mainly for the plot. We're just gonna do a very easy type deal, MGS5 may be different, but if it's not, it is what it is. Y'all know why,
Yeah, fair enough. And I think also they describe Naked Normal as being basically easy, and then Liquid Easy is very easy. So I don't feel like you're missing out on much. Like in my entire playthrough, I think I died twice, and one of them was just a stupid thing on my end that I wasn't supposed to be in a certain place yet, but...
You go over the lasers.
I
did that
went
too.
over the lasers.
Me too.
I tried to crawl under it. I didn't realize it would yeah, no. Yeah.
Same.
No, you know what I did for that? Because that was out of the way, right? Like, that we don't have to talk about that later. I realized that if you very, very gently tilt the stick forward when you're prone, Snake does like an inchworm movement, right?
Yeah.
The humping the floor?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
So I was definitely too far away when I started this, but I was just sitting there for like 30 seconds just doing that, and then like when he finally got under, I was like, okay, great, it's working, and then one more inch and then he just blew up. So that was a bit of an annoyance. But let's talk about the PS3, right? Obviously we spent a lot of time with the PS2 Metal Gears, but as Omar touched on last week, this is the first Metal Gear game on the PlayStation 3 and was used to showcase the PS3 very heavily. Is there anything about any of those showings for Omar, you, or anybody else that sticks out in your memory of like because I think I saw a clip of an E3 once where they were showcasing Snake using the Octo camo on the ground,
On
and
the
they're like the power of the PS3.
I honestly, I remember really in terms of the tech demo stuff, like that shot I already mentioned before of like Snake, you know, covering that guy's nuts of the statue. I remember that being a big point, and honestly, the tech stuff I remember is the fact that this was the first like 50 gig game, right? Dual layered Blu-ray, and apparently most of that space is actually being taken up by the audio. Like it's lossless uncompressed audio on that thing. If you compress it down, it might be like a 30 gig game or something, but it's a fat, full stacked 50 gigs. Like there's that big Dolby Digital splash logo thing
Right.
in the beginning, and they made a big deal out of that. And I also remember this game has a rumble director for the DualShock, and I believe this was like the first DualShock game or one of the first, because the PS3 was 6-axis only for a while, right? So yeah, I think they made a big deal out of the vibration stuff. Like even the box art has a DualShock 3 supported on the cover. But yeah, that's what I really mostly remember about that stuff. I know they showed it a lot, but I can't remember too much about those specifics.
Yeah. Kevin, what was it like seeing the jump? You know, like I think on your stream you touched on the like it's like, oh, it looks like a PS3 game. You know, like the color schemes and all that stuff. But just compare it to so much time with MGS2 and 3, and now seeing the PS3 version.
What I'm really starting to see, and like what I'm really shocked about, is that I don't know. Like I feel like it's easy to like take a game IP and jump to another generation and could possibly like lose its identity because of how it looks different, right? Like I think Christian, like you have a good point about even though like I don't fully agree, but your point on like how the original trilogy of Uncharted, those games look on PS3 versus Uncharted 4, where you don't really vibe with the look of Uncharted 4 necessarily. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I think that as far as we've gone, I mean, we've seen PS1, a lot of PS2, and then PS3 here. Like, I feel like they're still able to keep the essence of Metal Gear Solid visually, and I don't know how they do it. Like, to me, it still feels and looks like Metal Gear Solid for sure, even though it looks very much like a PS3 game. In terms of, like, even, like, I feel like the design of the environments are very analogous to the average game on that hardware, color palette as well. Yeah, like, but even with that being said, like, I feel like it still feels and sounds and looks like Metal Gear Solid, which I love so far. Liking that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jack, returning to the game, big fan of 5. You spent a lot of time in 5. That kind of killed some of Snake Eater for you and all the returners. But, like, diving into 4, because I guess it's following up 3, like, do you feel like it's a natural progression, or does it feel like you're still waiting for the 5... like god tier gameplay? Like, does it feel dated so much still, even though we've seen a lot of PS2 stuff?
No, and I'm very surprised that it doesn't feel dated, because this is the first time we have the L1 to aim, R1 to shoot, and you can move around when you're aiming and shooting. And of course, crouch walking, which I joked about, but that's very important for stealth action games, where you can get low and just sort of move around a little bit more stealthily rather than either standing or crawling on the ground. It's super important, and that was implemented here very well. I think this game looks really beautiful still when you compare it to other games around the time. It's probably one of the more like impressive looking games from 2008. Got like GTA 4, which doesn't really look good at all when you go back and play that game. Fallout 3, which is like, obviously it's a big open world game, and there's a lot of sacrifices they had to make to actually get that game to run. But obviously it just doesn't look very good now. But I still think that MGS4 has a very distinct and pretty look to it, despite not looking obviously up to standard to games nowadays. But like, if you compare this game to like Uncharted, which came out a year before, it blows it out of the water in that regard. So I think it's a really pretty looking game, and it plays surprisingly well. I was very surprised about that. The only thing that I don't like about it so far, and Kevin definitely made note of it during his stream, was the frame rate, which is... I watched a Digital Foundry video from like 2015, and it dips to like 20 frames per second in like the first act.
And you can definitely feel
low.
that. Yeah,
totally.
You can definitely feel that. Like there was some instances I found in very small rooms where the game doesn't have to render a lot, it being up to like a higher rate, you know. But generally speaking,
I think it's
overall,
locked at 30,
See,
I don't think it's locked at 30. I think it's
it's totally
it's
locked
definitely
at
not.
60, or not locked, but the cap is 60. But it definitely dips way below that most of the time.
Oh, the cap is 60 frames.
I believe so. It definitely goes to, like, we notice in the codec calls, that's running at 60, and the small rooms that you find yourself in, 60, or night vision goggles will increase the frame rate too, even.
The video I saw was like at 30 for most of the time, but if you're saying, there are probably points where like if it's like a cutscene or maybe a codec, that could be at 60, but I know that some games have menus that are 60, but like the rest of the gameplay is at 30.
Right.
So it could be something like that.
Yeah. But like definitely, I mean, I would have rather taken like a locked 30 than an inconsistent that could potentially hit 60 sometimes. Like just that inconsistency definitely ruins it. But like, I mean, hey, it's all right. You know, like, guys, we have Solid Snake. We have my boy Otacon here. Like we're chilling. But yeah, that I expect that frame rate to probably be one of the big things that I dislike about this game. You know, but it is what it is. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm definitely with Jack on everything you just said. Like, I think it looks pretty great, and I think it visually aged really well because of, you know, they're committed to an art style. They're not really going for realism, but I think in a lot of ways, like, you know, like you said, the best aged PS3 games did that, and I definitely agree the frame rate is something. One of my notes, I just wrote down frame rate, nothing else. Like, I think though, for me, the thing that's the most jarring, and maybe I'm just weird about it, the thing that's the biggest issue I think for me with the frame rate is in the cutscenes. Like, it doesn't hit me much in gameplay because, like, maybe it just hasn't been too hectic for me, or maybe I just haven't noticed it because, like, when a grenade goes off, smoke literally fills the screen and I just can't see much. But, like, it's definitely, I was, like, more noticing the frame rate struggling when we were in cutscenes, I think. At least to my memory of my play session. I don't know if anybody feels differently or the same. Or
It totally does happen, but I think I'm on the end of that going like, oh, fuck yeah, work that PS3. Use that processor. Let's go. Like, it's definitely struggling and dying, but I don't know. I think a cinematic frame rate, if you will, during intense moments.
Is it an artistic choice?
It might have been a happy accident. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was wondering that because they, like, cutscenes in this are essentially, they almost replace the codec in a lot of ways, in terms of like storytelling. And yeah, like, it's very possible that they went with the film, like, get close to the 24 frames per second that films use, you know?
Mm-hmm. I would not be surprised.
Yeah, I didn't. I mean, I guess I'll pay more attention next time, but like, I wasn't thinking about the frame rate in the cutscenes.
In all honesty,
I don't know.
I think part of this too is maybe like a transition from like CRTs to HDTVs, where like on CRTs, if you had like a more variable frame rate, it didn't stand out that much, I guess. But with the way like modern displays like require like VSync and like buffering stuff, I think this is where like it might have just been a case where they didn't know what to do or didn't think it was a big deal.
Right.
I don't know.
Well, do we have any other general thoughts on just, you know, the technical aspects of the game before we dive into the introduction?
The sound is awesome. I know I said that thing about lossless audio, but like that sound mix is so good in this game. Like,
Yeah.
That sounds great.
Yeah. I'd say sound. I'd say like the animation work with different models, like the way the geckos move. I think they move so beautifully in this game. Like they look really good when
they
they're
look
in motion,
alive.
you know. Yeah, like they really did a really good job animating the way the geckos look, and they almost act like very animal like in like a lot of different ways. So very very cool. Also, Metal Gear Mark II. You know his, no, is it he? I don't know. I will call him a he. Why not him? He moves really cool as well. So there's a lot of good work in here, performance wise for sure. But just that frame rate is what's the hold up.
Yeah. So I'm assuming, like, because Kevin, I watched your thing. I saw the FMV ad thing that you had when you started your game. Mine was different. I don't know if
Really?
it's a difficulty thing or what, if it's just a random batch that just give you one. Or...
Okay.
So, I found this out because I was very confused about this. You're like watching TV when you first start up. And
Yeah.
I told Kevin a little too late, but if you use the D-pad, you can like change channels. And mine was an interview with David Hayter, and I watched that
Like, straight up?
Yeah, it was a whole interview like where he was wearing the solid eye patch. Some journalist was like berating him, and like he couldn't really like have time to answer questions properly. He was talking about a tattoo of Kobe, Japan on the back of his ear. Yeah, it was bizarre.
Huh. I got this like octopus like documentary about how octopuses can, they move really fast. They're able to, quickly change where they're moving very quickly. They can camouflage as well based off of like what they're near and what they're touching and everything. So
Be decoys potentially.
yeah. So I guess that was like a precursor to Snake's suit and that whole deal inside the gameplay. But yeah, mine was like a documentary like about octopuses.
I said this is a joke because like some of that underwater footage looked like it was the Uncharted 4 stuff. And I said Nathan Drake ? But it totally was Nolan North voicing that. Like
No, that was definitely Nolan North, 100%.
yeah.
Yeah.
I had no idea. But crazy. Yeah, I got the I don't know, the sweat workout one.
I got that one
Yeah.
too, yeah.
Yeah. There's some weird comedy in that one. Like
Yeah, dude, like, it's like, the guy's name is, like, Sarge, like, he's an ex-military guy that's like, you want, like, a hardened body, buy my workout DVD, and then there's, like, some woman in there who's like, I had a child, and I hate how I look, and my husband won't look at me. It got to the point where I didn't even like my own baby, but now I'm ripped.
yeah, like she was saying like I hated how I looked when I was pregnant. Then I hated my baby too because the baby made me look that way or something. Like
Yeah.
What the fuck?
from what I don't know if this is like if Kojima really wrote any of these, because I think I heard that like they just gave a lot of money to like a studio in like Los Angeles and said, please make these fake TV shows for us.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe he was involved with the Hater one. I don't know, but
He had to have been with the David Hayter interview. It was so
yeah,
weird.
must have been. But yeah, I don't know. I was kind of a bit upset that I didn't get to see like all of them, and because I only got to see 2, and then it like started the game,
Yeah.
and maybe I should have just started flicking through the channels. But I was like, no, let me watch these. Let me see what's here. But it just launched the game afterwards.
Omar, was your second one werewolf?
Nah,
'Cause
my
I-
second one
Okay.
was like the machinery unfolding and stuff. Like
That's what I got. I think it was like the brand was called Werewolf. Their slogan said "Evolution Reinvented," and it was like it looked like nanomachines, maybe just unfolding.
oh, huh.
So
They all would have been sick music videos or something. It's like I don't know.
yeah, absolutely.
I love the concept of like the fake TV show thing as you start the game. Like in terms of a Kojima like mindfuck, I don't know if it actually got anyone because they're like, oh, I thought I was playing a video game, but it's a fun way to start it for sure.
Yeah, I was trying to think. Like, I want like what purpose is it? Is it like you're saying? Is it really just a mindfuck, or is he like trying to like set the tone of like, oh, this is what consumerism has gotten us to at this point in life? Like, is that what he's going for? I don't know. That's the only thing I could think of.
Maybe there's a tinge of that, but hey, we're buying the video game.
Yeah.
I don't know. We buy stuff. Who knows? I mean, you saw that Metal Gear Solid 2 design document, right? Like,
Yeah.
where he said, "I just wanted to confuse people." So I assume it's just that.
Yeah, that makes sense. But immediately after that, we actually dive into the game. Somewhere in the Middle East, we are introduced with the quote, "In a not too distant future, on a tired battlefield, war has become routine." We get some fantastic voiceover from David Hayter playing Solid Snake. Once again, no longer Big Boss. I don't know if I'm being ridiculous, but immediately I was like, "Oh, that's absolutely Solid Snake's voice."
Yes, that's what I was about to say. Like, the way he's saying these things, like, no, that's Solid Snake. This is how Solid Snake talks. Yes, and this is what we didn't have in MGS3, and why, like, it was so clear that, like, that was a whole different character, you know? Which, I guess you got to give props to the writing and to David Hayter, I guess, because, like, it's Solid Snake, but I don't know how he's able to not only mimic Solid Snake's voice, but also make him sound old. Like that, like, to take it even a step farther, like, that's, I assume that takes a lot of work. So shout out to that. But yeah, like, instantly from what he was saying, I'm like, no, this is definitely Solid Snake. Like, it has to be.
I also love the line "War has changed" because I mentioned Fallout 3 earlier, and if you watch any Fallout trailer, you're gonna hear the narrator always say "War never changes." And for this game to come out and be like "War has changed," I feel like that was so cool when I first played that the first time. It just has the juxtaposition between those two games.
Did you play
it's really
Fallout
cool.
3 before this?
I did, yeah.
Okay.
Omar, I think you were the first one to bring it up during Snake Eater, of just being like, hey, he's kind of terrible in this game. But how do you feel about David Hayter this time around? You know, this is post Naked Snake, post Snake Eater. He's back. Are you with us? Do you think he got it back if he lost it at all? Maybe it was intentional. What are you thinking about his performance this time?
I think it's goofy as hell, but I kind of love it. But I don't think it's like as well done as it was in Metal Gear Solid 1 or 2, to be honest. Like, I think there's a moment later on where you get about like a 30-second Snake grumble where he's like or something like, and I think that moment was where I feel like it actually feels like a parody of the whole character, but it's fun and I'm cool with it.
Yeah, and I definitely was thinking along the lines of what Kevin said, of like, it felt like the same cadence of like Solid Snake, and at the beginning when he is saying that war has changed thing, I was like, oh, this from memory sounds like the way Solid Snake sounds in my head, and then he talks more, I'm like, oh no, he definitely sounds different, like he's older now.
In 3, like, you know, Big Boss never had an idea about ideology in that game, right? Like, I feel like this Snake is immediately talking about these big ideas because Snake is a believer and stuff, you know? It's definitely two different characters.
For sure.
Yeah.
And if that wasn't enough, once again, whoever this Snake is, he's smoking a cigarette. He's not chomping on a cigar, so we know it's our boy.
Hell yeah.
I love
He's got
that.
both eyes.
Yeah. I it's so stupid, but I do love that they were like, no, Big Boss has cigars. Like, I just love that. That's so dumb, but it's perfect. I was like impressed with the transition. Also, I kind of like caught me off guard of just like, hey, we're in cutscene, and then camera swoops around. It's like, oh, you did that thing that everybody does now, but you did it. I didn't think that was coming.
Yeah, that's definitely like a PS3 era thing that's just standard now.
Yeah. Did anybody call Otacon immediately? Because I was messing with the menus. I stumbled into a conversation with him. What did it go like for you, Jack?
I don't know, because I saw those buttons up top and be like, oh, I could pause and play this and fast forward and just skip through everything.
Me too.
They don't maybe it's just me, but I feel like they don't explain those well enough, and maybe that was a really good time to experiment, but I don't think I'll ever hit those buttons again because I just skipped through all of his dialogue, so
But,
I'll
like,
never know what he said.
do they work? Like, can you I would love to pause
I don't think. Yeah.
a call. if
You
I
can do
could.
that if you can go into the home menu and that'll pause codec calls. I'm pretty sure the PS3.
You
screen.
can pause cutscenes in this. I know, by hitting start, I believe,
Oh, no.
That's good to
or
know.
also hitting the home button. But Kevin's on PS5, so I don't know how that would work.
Can you not
Yeah.
access the PS3 X and B during like mid game?
You okay, I forget how to go to the I know you can. I've done it, but I know the start and select. Start is the right hand side of the touchpad and select is the left hand side of the touchpad. But I forgot how to get to the like limited XMB that I have. It's only like it's like 3 rows. It's like turn off the system. I can like go to the game tab to do like my save data, whatever. It's like a super small XMB that I can pull up on PS Now, but I forget how to do that.
Very interesting. Those buttons do work. I didn't do it on the first call or another call. I did like an extra call, and I was like, this probably isn't important, so I'm fine if I lose this. During codec, if you hit the start button, there's the stop signal next to that. It just ends the call. If you hit circle, I think it like skips ahead a couple words. And if you hit the other one, I think it might be square triangle. It skips to the next paragraph, like on the next transition. So like I don't know why you'd want to do that unless you just want to skip through a codec call. But yeah, if you want to absorb everything, don't press the buttons.
Well, there's one button you should press, I think, or maybe
What is
two.
it?
Or wait, no, one button and one stick. Like the right stick moves it still, but then up on the D-pad will zoom in, which
Oh, really?
I don't think it was up on the D-pad for 2, but you could definitely zoom in on the faces in 2, right?
Yeah, I think it
Yes.
might have been clicking in the sticks.
Okay,
possibly.
okay, yeah. So yeah, it took me a while to find that, but yeah, please feel free to
Does
zoom in
Snake
on
say
Autocon.
anything if you hit R2?
No, I didn't get any of that, unfortunately.
That's
Get
right.
real.
Yeah, I wish. Just a good like another rumble or something like.
Yeah, like
Um,
I don't hate this codec as much as MGS3's codec design, right? But I do kind of wish we just went back to like an MGS1, MGS2 type of codec, honestly. Just with the 2-panel thing going on, you know?
Yeah, like I honestly never noticed until like this thing we're doing here, but like it seems like Kojima actually wanted to get rid of the codec with like 3 or like change it in a
Yeah.
way
Yeah.
because it's a bummer because I definitely feel like most of that stuff is my favorite in the series, but at least with this one I feel like the cutscene direction is much better than it was in 3. So
Yeah.
I'm not really minding the missing codec stuff too much, but it is unfortunate.
By the way, Christian, I am expecting you to recreate MGS1 codecs for this podcast. Thank you.
Oh, sure, yeah, I'll do
Hand
my
drawn.
best on
For
that.
the video version.
Speaking of codec, though, I am glad the original sound is back. And I made a big
Hell yeah.
stink about it the first time we heard it in Metal Gear Solid 3, but I'm genuinely glad. I heard the codec sound, I was like, oh, perfect. Like, I was so happy
Yes.
hearing that again.
Yes.
It's just so much better. The other one just sounds like you're, like, flipping through, like, metal wires. Like, it's annoying and doesn't sound good, I don't think.
I don't
It's,
even remember it. It's that bad.
It's on the level of like the sonic ring noise that you hear at every gas station now. It's just one of those like iconic noises in video games. Like
Yeah.
I had this as my ringtone at some point in high school, right? Like as I'm sure a lot of people did.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm glad it's back. It's one of those legendary noises and very iconic.
Big time agree on that. But to recap what that Otacon call was, he was talking about the guns only work because they're ID tagged, stuff we touch on later, and the nano machines work for the ID tags. So 2 concepts that he throws at me immediately when I called him that they were thrown at you immediately for a reason, because we're going to come back to these 2 ideas pretty frequently, but there was also, he mentioned that to avoid being detected via a codec call, there was a thing called MCON to not give away your position. So I don't know if that was trying to contextualize our questions of like, if Snake's talking, people will hear him in the room, right? Like so I don't know if that was an answer to that, but I didn't get a full grasp on that. Whatever he was talking about.
Isn't MCOM like the Tron like computer software people?
I think that's NCon.
Okay, all right.
But,
I don't think I heard anything about MCOM in this so far. I don't even know.
What I did notice though was on the side of the codec also it said Haltech, so Otacon's got a little business going. Maybe we'll see what's going on there. But what do we think of maneuvering through these war-torn streets? Like, it's not super open, you know, so it is sort of going back to that hallway layout that we like about Metal Gear 1 and 2. You know, obviously allowing a bit more openness for some scalability, verticality with some of the buildings, but as far as getting from point A to point B, Omar, how have you been finding navigating the streets here in the early hours?
It definitely feels like a PS3 game, or early PS3 game in terms of like the narrow corridors.
Yeah.
I think it feels like more Metal Gear Solid 3 in that way, honestly, so far. But yeah, it really feels like this game more than the other ones. I'm just walking around for the next cutscene, like getting from point to point. So I haven't really been thinking about the level design too much because the cutscenes are so frequent that I don't know. Seems fine.
Jack, what about you?
I love the situation you find yourself in this act where you're just situated against two warring factions and you have to just sort of maneuver around them and make sure you don't get seen by either one. And I just think it's really cool, and I think a lot of people might take issue with this being more of an action game than stealth games like previous Metal Gear games, but I think it makes that leap to that type of genre in like a very good way, because it's very intense, especially like later on, where after you get your trank and your silenced pistol, there's just mortars going off you like left and right, and you just sort of have to navigate that and get to the next area. And I think it's really cool. I like how this game is more of an action game than the previous Metal Gear games, and it plays well enough that it's like it's fun to do with the L1 and R1 to aim and shoot. So I really like it.
Yeah, and I don't know if anybody else is feeling this too, but like I didn't really start shooting people up until the frogs later on, which we'll get to, but I was either tranking or just sneaking or waiting for every other encounter essentially, because, and I think in the conversation with Drebin, we can get to that later again, but like they're maybe incentivizing you to not get involved with the action. So like I do think the improvements they make with the stealth and like the ring around Snake, I've definitely been enjoying stealthing, so I haven't really been looking at it like an action game so far, with the exception of that one set piece towards the end of this session.
I love that Octo Camo thing.
Oh yeah,
It's so fun.
Yeah, it takes like the annoyance of, and it wasn't all that annoying in MGS3, but putting on new camo every time you enter a new area, and it just sort of does that for you. But there is still like the manual application of, all right, I got to get up against this wall, or if I'm proning, I'm going to just stay on the ground for a little bit so it can just match the camo of the ground. It's really cool. I love that thing. I think I prefer it over the MGS3 camo system.
Yeah, I do too, and it's another instance of just, you know, Kojima and the series using their science and tech and their sci-fi stuff in a really fun way that, like, it's like, oh, this just makes it easier for me as someone playing a video game, and it's also makes sense in the world. And, you know, I think this was optional, but Otacon talks in a codec call of, like, why Octo Camo is such a big deal and why we need it now, and Snake was like, oh, why don't we just use the optical whatever it was, the
invisible cloak thing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then Otacon was like, oh, well, because we're fighting mostly machines now, they have infrared sensors, and it's just an optical illusion, the thing I had before, so this that wouldn't fool them. So we need the octo camo because there's these things in the air and then in your skin and in your suit that make it so the IR sensors detect the suit and it matches uh, the radiation sensor of what the material you're blending in with is. So it's just like super high tech cloaking or something. So it's another instance, I think, for me, and I know Kevin really loved that stuff too. So I'm curious what you think about it, but yeah, I thought it was a very fun addition, and I'm having a blast with it.
Yeah, like I think that what's really cool is that I don't feel like this game is at least framed to be super actiony or super stealthy. I think you can do both, and due to the mechanics of how it feels to aim down sight and all that, and just the weapons and all the different things that you can get in terms of guns and all that, versus the technology of blending into whatever you're like in front of and that ring as well. Like I think that you can do either or very well in this game, which I really am impressed that they were able to do both. And like it really feel like they cared on both sides, whether you want to go guns blazing or be all stealth and all that. I found the beginning gameplay parts to really be a lot a lot more interesting than what service level it is, right? Like, yeah, you are Snake, you are meant to avoid these two like different enemies that are at war with each other, but I just kept thinking like, man, it is so interesting because like I don't like both attack me, right? So I don't even know which one I'm necessarily even supposed to feel for in this scenario. Like I truly am like a third person in this conflict, and I feel like not a lot of games do that in a way, you know. And I think that shined pretty bright in a lot of different ways. And also probably jumping ahead here, but you know, when we get into what are they called, the rats, and how they're able to act as one person as a unit, right, and kind of mimic what like Snake can do as truly one person. It's a really cool, I don't know, like this old warrior is in a new battlefield, you know? And like some of the rules have changed, and a lot of rules have changed, you know? And it's like which one is necessarily better, and obviously Snake doesn't vibe with the notion of like them just using tech to make up for what a warrior had to go through and like develop himself through like the VR training and all that. Like it's very interesting where we're at in this game. I really like it.
Yeah, and in some of those Otacon calls too, like Snake, just going off what you said, is like he does seem bitter. Otacon says like the suit's meant to like stimulate his muscles and make him stronger, and then Snake's like, I forget what he says exactly, but he's like, hey, enough of like the old geezer patronizing me stuff. Like it's fine. And then Otacon's like, well, the suit is a crutch, and like that's where they kind of ended off. So like,
Yeah.
Old Snake taking on like grumpy old man traits is also kind of fun, I think. And Omar, I think, like what you were saying earlier, of feeling almost like a parody or just like being kind of goofy. It's working for me, and that is a factor of it, I think. And seeing that transition, like when he gets the title card, it says Solid Snake in the background in the art, and it transitions just to Old Snake. I think I'm on board with it, you know, and I'm enjoying the cranky David, I guess. But
I think it works in context, but I feel like, you know, Metal Gear Solid 1, like, in terms of the voice direction and, like, cast there, it just feels like that one can stand on its own.
Sure.
Where, you know, we're getting this one, and it's really fun where the series ends up, like, here, but I feel like one just feels like it's better directed in that way, I guess, or better performances.
I did have a question. Like, so did a lot of people knock this game for being more action oriented? Because like I feel like they pretty much explain why it's a very action game. Like we're seemingly at war. I don't know if we'll like always be in a war kind of area, I guess, like throughout this whole game, but at least for this section, I feel like they did a good job at explaining why you're not sneaking around that much. You know, there's a little bit of stealth later on in like the mid part of the game, but definitely when you're outside, it's like action shooter. You know.
I feel like we should probably get into the reception of this game after we finish it.
Okay. All right. Gotcha.
I will say on every Wikipedia page for pretty much every Metal Gear game, it'll say widely considered one of the greatest video games of all time. So critically, these games have always been received well. It always comes down to like the fan base,
right,
and how they take it.
Yeah.
Well, Kevin, you're talking about the environment we're in right now, contextually making sense for the action path. So I feel like we can probably get into the story elements here because we are in a distant future taking place after Metal Gear Solid 2. The scene is set specifically with this act of Snake is hunting down Liquid. There are these two factions, right? We're disguised as one. And when we get to Meryl and all that, it's introducing this idea that I love the proxy wars, just like that title for what is going on here. I always loved that. But the idea that society's reached this point where it's like, hey, everyone's just fighting wars. Like, eventually the civilians are going to be soldiers too, and for some reason, private military corps are just like popping up everywhere. They're all deciding to register. Like, it's an interesting view of the future. And, you know, coming off of Metal Gear Solid 2, timeline-wise, Kojima was really looking to the future there. Jack, do you feel like the story he's setting up here, the world he's setting up here, is obviously not to the extent of 2, but is it able to resonate in a similar way? Just the reliance on tech and, you know, furthering his thoughts on how military works as an industry?
I suppose. I think it's a little... It's funny, like, how we look back on Metal Gear Solid 2 and be like, wow, this game was like... It's almost like telling the future in a way, in a lot of circumstances, and that you get to this game and it's like, well, I guess, like, there are some... Obviously, around the world, there are some instances where there's just, like, constantly wars being fought. Like, very small, granular wars. But, yeah, it does seem to make that leap that I was like, I don't know if I vibe with the... Like, I like the setting of it. I don't necessarily... like, the real-world applications. I'm not sure if there's too many that I can think of. But, yeah. I don't know. I think I probably prefer Metal Gear Solid 2's setting compared to this one. But if this one gives me the gameplay mechanics of MGS4, then sign me up.
Sure, yeah. I think the only things I could maybe pull out of this is just, like, personal security and, like, Big Brother type stuff, maybe. So, I like, you know, an increasingly globalized world, just relying on all this tech, and then how easy that can, you know, slip into the wrong hands. Like, I thought of Winter Soldier, because, like, that's another story that does that pretty much in a similar way, kind of. But yeah, I guess, Omar, what do you think of all this stuff? I know you're a huge fan of 2, but
Yeah, I thought you were going to say I'm a huge fan of Blackwater. But do you remember that Blackwater Connect game that came out like a few years after this? But like, yeah, the private military corporations were making straight up like fucking Connect video games. Sorry, what were we talking about? About Metal Gear Solid 2, right? I think the setting in Metal Gear Solid 2 I really like because it's talking about controlling society, right, in a lot of ways there. Mm-hmm. And it seems like the way that game is doing it is through like information manipulating and all that. But so far in this one, it's like literally people have machines in their body that we are tracking, and I don't know, maybe that does something to them. Like, right, I couldn't really figure out what was happening with the with some of that. I think Meryl's talking about all this control stuff.
Yeah, like, well, Meryl, I think, explained that, like, the nanomachines in their bodies communicate with each other, right? So they're able to, like, feel the senses of another person via the nanomachines. Is that what you were talking about?
Yeah, I think so. And I kind of assumed like, because apparently like all the PMCs and have it right, or maybe
Yeah,
it's
so
not the militia. I don't know.
If anybody wants to be using guns or warfare, they have to be registered under this rule set that involves having nanomachines that can be toggled by higher ups. So
In the system.
yes,
Right.
So
Interesting.
I think it's planting seeds to sort of make some statements about like, oh, how
Anti-vaccine. It's an
Maybe.
anti-vaxxer
Well,
game.
maybe like how much of your freedoms you'd give up for convenience. I think,
Sure.
which is like, I think that idea is pretty, modern in a lot of ways. Like people talk about like, oh, you want smart cars, really, like that kind of thing. So I think that's what they're going for, right? Because like when Meryl's saying all that stuff about like, oh yeah, so like nobody could have gotten out of that. So if Liquid's doing this, like we don't know what's up. But if somebody makes a move that somebody high up doesn't like, they can just make their nanomachines so they can't use their gun, so they can't even do it, and then we can just go in and stop them. So
Do any of... Oh, I'm sorry, Christian. You go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, so on that, like, cause she introduces that, and then Snake sees that, and he's like, I think he says like, "Is this the Patriots doing?" or something like that, and then Meryl's like, "What? I don't care. No, like, move on." So I think that's the idea they're trying to set up with the nanomachines in this so far, and just like whatever political thing Kojima wants to touch on in this game.
Do any of you guys have an Android phone?
Hell no.
No.
Thank
Ew.
God. All right. You ever talk to a disgusting Android user and they're
nasty
like,
ass green
yeah,
text button.
right. They're like, I don't care if Google knows all my stuff. Everyone will. It's the internet. I like to be able to use Harry Potter font on my phone and customize my home screen. I don't know. But that point you brought up about like people giving away their rights for convenience is something I feel like I fall into a lot, where it's like, oh man, even the Microsoft Xbox One demo, right, where they're like, we're gonna have a camera on you at all times, and so you can say turn on the TV, and it's like, would anyone really give up their rights for that? And I guess they didn't. I don't know. But yeah, I think I feel like I don't actually have beef with Android people. I'm sorry, that was rude of me. But
I do.
Okay, you know what? I do as well. I was half joking again, but yeah, fuck them. What were they talking about? Yeah, the Metal Gear Solid 2. Oh,
Go for it. Go for it.
Metal Gear Solid 2.
Metal Gear Solid 2. I was gonna say I really do feel like that game is so much more interesting about the manipulation stuff there than what's here right now so far. But maybe that changes for me. But like the system versus that like formless society of whatever AI shit manipulating from like whatever that was going on there was like, I don't know. But it's cool.
It's less. I mean, I think what 4 is presenting is much more of a ground level look at that type of security, where 2 does really get pretty existential in a lot of it, but this is much more of like do you want to have a smartwatch that can track your health and call an ambulance immediately if you need it? Okay, but somebody could be watching you when you go to the adult video store or stuff like that.
Oh no!
I think that's what this game's trying to set out there. But Jack, what were you gonna say?
I was going to derail the conversation. Speaking of Apple, man, Kojima loves Apple in this game.
You see a whole MacBook. Hell yeah.
You get a whole MacBook. You have a working iPod. And on that iPod, there's a podcast episode called the Metal Gear Solid 4 Integral Podcast. And it's the most 2008 podcast of all time.
What? Really? What's it like?
Yeah. And on it, it's a couple people from Kojima Productions speaking about the iPod in the game, and they like tested it out and put it in the game and showed it to Apple and being like, hey, we want to have the iPod in the game, and this is how we would use it. And they showed like the functioning the functionality of the actual iPod in Metal Gear Solid 4, and Apple was like, cool. And then they were probably like, hey, also put a MacBook in there so people can, buy our products. And they were like, cool. So, yeah, that's what's on there. You can find a whole bunch of music and stuff littered around the world. I think that's cool.
Do you think Sony was mad about that because they were making like Walkmans and
had to
Bios?
Vios, yeah.
Yeah.
They had to have been.
Is this why this game is stuck on the PlayStation 3? Is it because of the Apple license? Is that it? They don't want to just pony up again? Is that
They could
why?
easily take it out though. I
I feel like they can make it like a Zune, right? What was it like the Microsoft? Right? Like
It's got 200 songs
sure,
on it.
yeah. No, like, I'm sure you could just do a little flip flop. I was blown away by the iPod. I was completely blown away. I had one of those. I talk like it's like an archaic device, but like I
got one
also
of those
had
in
an
my
iPod.
drawer.
Yeah. I think it's an iPod Classic that they have rocking in the game. I had the little iPod Nano type thing going on, but very, with the scroll wheel and all that. Yeah, I was really, really impressed by it. I loved it. Like, it's so random. It's not part of the gameplay, but I loved it. And the prospect of, finding songs in the environment, I love too. Like, it's like, I feel like it was at this point finally that like they understood that like, hey, we like some of that old Metal Gear Solid stuff. Like, please, like, that stuff matters. Like, that stuff is cool. Bring it back.
And Metal Gear stuff. They're bringing like the MSX
Yeah.
games
Yeah.
to here with the music. Pretty cool.
I love it.
Jack, on that podcast is like one of the guys on there like Ryan Payton. Did they say
Yes,
his name?
Ryan
Okay.
Payton is the main host, and he's speaking to someone else from Kojima.
Did you look up anything about him afterwards or anything like that?
Like, is he canceled or something?
No, absolutely not. It's just like he's had a weird trajectory. Like
I looked up his social media afterwards. I don't remember anything in particular. That was the one thing that came to mind. I don't know why that's our culture, And I was like, is this dude are people still talking about this dude? But I don't. Yeah, why? What's up with Ryan Payton?
well, I think like I forget how he got involved with Konami Productions, but maybe he was there like as a localizer at some point. I don't know, but now the last thing he did was he directed Iron Man VR.
Yeah, I'm looking at his Twitter right now. Former Halo 4 director, Metal Gear
really?
Solid 4 producer, Republic and Iron Man VR director at Camouflage. So yeah, that's quite the interesting resume.
Yeah. I think that there's another product placement in this game too, or maybe it's not product placement, or maybe it's just a little fun thing. I don't know if you guys know what I'm talking about.
Is it the noodles?
Is it
No.
Is it
It's
in
a-
Act 1?
I don't know. I can't remember how you unlock it. I feel like you got to like beat the game on 100% completion, and it's a outfit.
I don't know. What you're
I don't
talking
know.
Okay.
I
Can I
about. We
hope
could
it's.
save that.
Can I
hope
say it?
I do
I don't
want
think
to
it's a
give up my
spoiler.
guess.
Okay,
I do
yeah,
wanna
give it
up
your
my
guess.
I hope it's a Supreme outfit, like the
Oh,
brand.
that wasn't
I-
even around at this point, was it? Or
Oh,
No,
Was
it
it?
was
Oh,
the
I have a
one with
guess.
the elephant or the
I
rhinoceros.
was gonna say Mark Echo. Is it Echo?
Yeah.
Mark
is it the
Echo?
I Heart Boobies?
Wait, is Mark Echo in this game?
bracelet and all that?
No, I'm making a guess. Is it Echo Unlimited?
Oh no. Do you want to hear it?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sure. Why not?
All right. It is an Altair outfit from Assassin's Creed.
Oh shit!
Yeah.
That's dope as hell.
I don't know how you get it. But,
How?
I think Ubisoft.
No,
and
like. Oh yeah.
they were just hanging
is
out.
cool.
Kojima and Jade Raymond are friends, I think,
Ah, okay.
and that's like it. But yeah.
That's dope. That's dope.
That's wild.
And I do appreciate though. I'm glad you brought that up because the game does have the Octo camo, right? But it did bring back disguises, kind of, because when we're going through that enemy base, like midway through this session, I was stealthing and sneaking a lot in the shadows, popping some light bulbs, giving myself more shadow so they couldn't see me as much. I ended up in a room and I opened a locker and there was another one of those outfits that Snake wore at the beginning of the game, like when he had the hood up that he lost. So I threw that on and I was just able to walk out of the base, the other half of it, like no worry about stealth, nothing. So that was really nice, and I was able to use it outside in some scenarios too to not get shot at. So
The best part of that, what I was doing the same thing, and then you can essentially just team up with the militia and take down the like praying mantis PMC. And if you are doing that and you're just sort of sniping people from afar and you defeat all the PMC, the militia will scream, "We did it!" I just think it's like so funny that you're just like, "Yep, I'm just one of the dudes." And if you walk up to someone, they're like, "Oh, it's you," and then they just keep going along. It's really cool.
But they will shoot at you though, right? Like sometimes, or they don't always.
I have both
Take you in?
sides shoot at me. I have both sides. So I
Did
was
you
like,
have
oh
the-
man, this is an interesting predicament.
Did you have the outfit on though?
No.
Because I could only get by if I had the outfit back on.
Right.
I think they worked with me once without even having the outfit on. I think.
Yeah, I think the militia was like they cared a little bit less than praying mantis.
So you can get the praying mantis to work with you too, though.
I don't think so. Just the militia.
Okay.
With the outfit that Christian was talking about.
And this is just very, very superficial, but in that menu to make this feel more like Metal Gear Solid 1, I changed the UI to number 7. It was a nice blue. And then I also, you can change the color of like Snake's harness, I think, over the suit. So I made it navy blue, so it looked more like his vest from 1.
Oh really?
Nice.
Nice.
Okay, I'm gonna do that. Actually.
Yeah, I recommend doing it if you want more of the MGS1 vibes, because I threw it on and then seeing him in cutscenes, it's like, yeah, that's Solid Snake. That's cool.
Also, you know what this game is too? Like from a UI perspective. Thank you for bringing it up because like I see now the Death Stranding UI. You know,
Sure.
like a lot when I'm wearing the Solid Eye. And it's let me know. Hey, over here, that's a SMG, this type of ammo, and like that, like very small, thin font. I feel is very much like okay, right. This is probably where we're getting into like the modern era of like their UI design in terms of just how he does UI. It just reminded me of Death Stranding.
Kevin, you were talking about how like you feel like despite a system jump, it still feels very much like Metal Gear Solid or like a Kojima game. I feel like so much of that is like the UI. Honestly, like.
Probably, yeah, you're right. Yeah.
It just even that ring is so hot. Honestly, I can't get enough of it.
I love that ring. Yeah, dude. That so far, dude, really high bar we're at right now. I know we could have only. I hope we could have only gone up after MGS3, to be honest. But here we are. We're having a good time, guys.
It really feels like an epic or something. Like this is the end of like Metal Gear Solid or something. Like
it just feels like a big like hey, this is what you guys actually want. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. Like just coming off of just MGS3 just being so separate from what we're dealing with in like MGS1 and 2, but not really being that separate. Like of course it's important. And I assume it's going to pay off a lot more, probably in like MGS4 and MGS5. But like getting back to the core characters of like the original game, it just loving this.
It feels a lot to me, just Act 1 so far. It feels a lot to me like The Force Awakens, where you're getting all of these characters that are like beloved to you, and you haven't seen them for years. And it feels like a one last ride sort of story. So like it's like a weird combination of like The Force Awakens with all the references that they have and the people that they've brought back from. Kevin, you said this on stream and I had this exact same thought, so I'm glad you said this. It feels like in some ways more of a sequel to MGS1 than it does to MGS2.
Oh, hell yeah.
And I totally agree with that. I think that's a really good point. And I love that about the game, and I feel like it treats what fans love about this game or love about the series in like such high regard, and it doesn't feel in the same way that it for me personally didn't feel like that in Force Awakens. It feels like it's not like too much fan service. It feels like it respects people's love for the franchise, but it doesn't like flaunt that in a way to get like cheap thrills from them. I think it's all it all works well.
Yeah, and now I see that my ending in MGS1, even though I like my ending still, I know I see that as wrong. Like that, yeah. Meryl's not supposed to die in the first game, but she's
Yeah.
back. I don't know.
I was
She got
wondering how they were
saved.
gonna like deal with that because obviously I knew that was coming. Maybe they're both technically canon, and then they just explain it away somehow. Like, oh, she
Yeah.
wasn't really dead.
Yeah, like the what was it? The other I guess the U.S. military came in to Shiloh Moses and saved Otacon, I guess, or
Mm-hmm.
something like that. Yeah, so I guess just flip flop it, Meryl or Otacon, that works out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think also, just to throw one more thing on about fan service, right? Like, I think it feels to me, I'm with both of you, like, it feels good here, and it's not feeling like it's too much compared to, like, I think 3 did a lot of fan service and it was botched. Like, it was a lot of, like, heavy winking, pause, you get what we did, and then moving on, and then again, again, and again.
Yeah,
Here-
Solo.
Yeah, sure, yeah. And yeah, I feel like the nods we have made so far, I think are subtle enough. Like, there's not too many. Like, I thought a very funny moment before the title card, I think, or before Kojima Productions presents Konami. It was the geckos looking at Snake, and he was like running up a building, and he saw the box, and it's like, oh, he's gonna do the box, and then he did the octo camo instead, and I think the
Yeah.
box said like no place to hide or something.
No place to Hideo.
Yeah. No
Okay.
place to Hideo.
But yeah, other than that, there hasn't been much like I feel like it's not really fan service so far, because like the stuff they're doing so far is story or character related, because like we in that flashback after that scene, we see Snake in a graveyard, right? And Otacon shows up. It's like, oh, Snake's meeting Campbell again, and Snake looks really old now because he might have Werner's syndrome, I think is what Otacon said.
Classic Werner syndrome.
Yeah, which I didn't look that up, but I'm assuming Jack did. I don't know.
No,
It feels like something you would have looked
that's
up.
that's just what Otacon said.
Okay.
Classic Werner syndrome. Like, of course we should have known.
But yeah, overall, I really like the tone they set up here and the setting of all of it. But
I think there's a very important thing we should discuss about the graveyard scene.
Can I start off with my fan service bit
yeah,
beforehand?
Sure.
I heard Omar, you want to say something, so go ahead.
I feel like the fan service is pretty in your face so far with the like. Here's a old character you might remember. Mash X. Look at their character models, or like
Sure, yeah.
the graveyard scene. Like Mash X. Remember Big Boss just did this in the last one, huh? Remember? Or like
Yeah, but
the
is
Johnny.
that bad though?
Was that bad?
It's not bad, to be clear.
Can I just fucking say my point? Fuck. Like when you meet shit stained Johnny and
Yeah.
you're going like, and you're like you're a rookie, you're still green, kid. It's just like Metal Gear Solid 1 Meryl. Like I will say, yeah, I think it's bad, but it's all right. You guys feel differently, and you're mad at me. So continue on and enjoy your fucking game.
The only thing I'll say though, with all that stuff, Omar, though, is like that's optional. You know,
It's
I'm
not
pressing
optional.
X.
There's the X button right there. Like,
I'm not-
yeah, you don't have to press it, but you're gonna see it, right? The fact,
yeah.
like, he's not even calling him Ocelot anymore. He's Liquid, and they're saying brother. It's like,
Brother.
it is. It's still that. It is still that course direction from Metal Gear Solid 2. It is still like, you guys don't like me anymore. I'm gonna make you a game you like. I'm gonna make you happy. And I don't know. I sound more down on this than I am. I'm just upset about those specific fan service moments. But like, it's
Yeah,
it feels like a change of course, I guess, from
Sure,
something else.
I think because you're absolutely right. Like that stuff's there. I do think though, like because I think the first time you're prompted to do that is in the graveyard for the X1 that gives you the flashback to like, oh, Big Boss did this, right?
Yeah.
I just after that I'm not pressing X. I'm doing L1s, but
Okay.
X it's like so it feels less in my face. It's like because like where 3 did it, it's like it's baked into like the dialogue and narrative and all this stuff, and it's like in the past, so there's no reason for it to be. But I think because it's a sequel and it's touching on stuff that's like relevant to the characters, and again, I'm not doing the X stuff, like it feels less in my face, because like I would expect Snake to have that reaction with somebody, or all these things. I wouldn't expect Big Boss to be like doing all his shit, or like the government guy being like, we need a guy for sneaking missions that looks just like him. Like it feels more it's less jarring for me, I think.
I'm going to bring up two things, and to be honest, the first one I actually kind of like, but I need to call it out. Mm-hmm. That man has an exclamation point on his head.
Yeah.
Like, it's stupid, but yeah. I like that one. I think that's fun. Mm-hmm. But that guy shitting his pants, this is the most offensive thing Kojima's done so far, I think.
Yeah, that's fair.
Like, and I think that is in his mind, I think, fan service, right? Like, I don't know. Someone has to enjoy that bit. I don't. But
yeah.
How much space do you think that uncompressed fart noise takes on that Blu-ray? 200 megabytes? 130? I don't know.
512.
Okay. Sounds good.
Half a gig.
It's loaded fully into the RAM of that PS3.
Yeah, I mean, definitely the shit in the pants thing, yeah, that was a bit quite interesting how I'll phrase it.
But
yeah.
One thing I want to throw out, like, they make David Hayter, he does this Metal Gear, but he goes diarrhea. Like, come on, that was good.
Wait, did he really say diarrhea?
Yeah.
Oh, I missed it.
Diarrhea. He does the thing too. Like, I think it's after Johnny starts rumbling after they're all cool with Snake being there, and he, like, everybody else leaves except for him, and Snake looks down on him. He's like, diarrhea. No, and then they just walk out of the room.
Does it smell that bad, though, that he needs to cover his nose? He's a legendary hero, and this is a war-torn, like, battlefield, and, like, I'm sure it smells worse than that guy's pants.
I mean, like, I assume the smell would peripherate, if you will. You know, travel. You know what I'm saying?
Of course.
But yeah, I don't know. I've you know what? Let's not continue what I was about to say. Let's just not do that.
Oh, please do.
I have no experience in that whatsoever. So that's that. Yeah. I mean, look, like, on paper, Omar, I get what you're saying, and it definitely makes sense. I'm just eating it up, man. I fucking love it, bro. I love the Match X. Let me see the old MGS1 character models, you know. I do want to tie it all the way back to the grave scene, though. Like, is there something specific that Jack wanted to call out about this graveyard scene that perhaps I missed? It seems like it was just the ending of MGS3, you know?
I think we should have the conversation that Otacon has reached daddy status in terms of his appearance. He's looking real good. Because, of course, we remember him peeing his pants, Metal Gear Solid 1. He's got a flow going.
Yeah.
He's got a turtleneck on. He's got an overcoat. Certainly knows how to dress now. I'm just saying I think that's an important piece we should address. Because I know we're all thinking it.
You're 100% right. He's looking mad good. He's a handsome, suave lad.
That's character progression, let me tell you.
He's evolved. Absolutely. Yeah. I like it a lot. I'm gonna kind of miss the nerdy Otacon, but I could like this cool Otacon who's still not so nerdy, more just
Mm-hmm.
intelligent, right? Sophisticated, you know.
Yeah,
I agree.
I wanted to throw out there too, because we're talking about character looks, right? I think pretty much everyone who's a returning player looks good except Campbell. You could have put any man there and called him Campbell, and it would have been like, all right, sure. Like, that guy's face, I was like, okay, I guess. I don't know.
It is so bizarre to hear his codec voice coming out of a character model, I think.
Very
like
weird.
that.
Very weird. Very weird.
Like, it's like hearing a radio announcer like just seeing them in person or something. Like, I don't know. But
I think.
glad he's here.
Sorry.
No,
Sorry,
you
Omar.
go ahead.
Speaking of like what Christian was saying of like all the returning people, I think Meryl in this game so far is leagues better than her like portrayal in Metal Gear Solid 1, because I think she was written pretty terribly. But I think her as a character is way more interesting now. Is more like independent and is less like I like the interaction with her and Snake about Campbell being her father and her like sort of not wanting to accept that. I just think she's like way more interesting than she was in Metal Gear Solid 1.
Do you think when she says men are egotistical, selfish pigs, that's an independent idea that she learned, or that's from the training she got?
That's a man writing that sentence.
Okay.
So yes, there is that line, but separated from that particular line, I think she's much more. At least in this act, I kind of forget how it goes in the rest of the game, but I think she's a lot more well realized right now.
Do you think she's got the hots for old Snake here?
No, because she says like, "I'm done with those little love games." So she was probably like, "Oh, Snake, you're back," and then was like, "Oh, you're old now." But she was like, she's probably like, I think she said, like, I'm sort of done with that now, because it seems like she's pretty pissed most of the time.
Yeah. Snake doesn't like to get touched by her in this either.
I feel like he's probably just like ashamed. You know, it seems
I
like
think
he's
so.
not happy about what's going on with his appearance, and seemingly no cure for what's going on, right? Like it seems impending. He's just kind of over it all, and maybe that's where the grumpiness comes from. It's like, well, I mean, I'm kind of shit out of luck. I'm just here, I'm waiting to die. Like,
It's such a good frame for this game. I feel like it's just this aging man who doesn't want to live, probably. But sorry, you go ahead, Christian.
I was gonna say, and that's only like, I think it's double, because I noticed that too. Like, he's absolutely like does not want her near him, really, and he's kind of embarrassed, it seems like. But you know, in Metal Gear Solid 1, they were like around the same age, I think, like maybe like 5 years at most. And there, you know, like time works normally, so like they're presumably still in that similar age range, but you know, Snake is basically like an old man, and she's probably looking at him the way that she looks at Campbell, kind of, in just terms of, you think you're better than me, like you're older than me. Like, I don't know.
I was just gonna ask you guys if you think Kojima likes to be touched in general or anything like that. Yeah, because there's another character who doesn't like to be touched, right? That he wrote.
Wait, who?
Oh yeah, you're right.
Come on, Kevin. Jack, this isn't. I don't think it's too big of a deal.
Spoil it. I don't care.
Wait,
All
does it
It's
like to be
Sam Porter
touched?
Bridges in Death Stranding.
Yeah, he hates
I'm
it.
stupid. Why did I think about that? Dang it. Yeah. Dang it. Yeah, you're right. Absolutely. Definitely does not like to be touched. Yeah, you're right. You're right.
You know who doesn't like to be handed things?
Tony Stark.
Yes.
Sorry.
Well done, Christian. That was only addressed in Iron Man 2.
He doesn't like to be handed things,
Yeah.
like
true.
Like strawberries.
Documents.
Like strawberries.
Yeah. There's a specific scene where he goes to a strawberry stand and says, "Hey, can I get some of those? I'll buy this with my watch." And the dude is like, "Sweet. You're Iron Man, aren't you?" He's like, "Yep."
What about
then
the
he-
wealthy inherited?
No, he didn't have that at the time.
Okay.
He only had the watch.
All right.
Oh, man.
So I know we've jumped around a lot story-wise, but I feel like the game kind of doesn't have a major overarching thing yet. You know, like Snake's rumbling about the Patriots a little bit, and leaving Metal Gear Solid 3, they sort of refocus the idea at the very, very end about, it's like the philosophers became the Patriots, and
Dupe.
we'll see.
Do we know who the Lily Lalo is? Do we know who that is yet?
Isn't
I think
that
we do, right?
Isn't that the
It
Patriots?
did get name dropped.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It did get name dropped.
It seems like Mira was implying that was the Patriots, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
because
because
Okay.
in
That was
go
her
ahead,
like
Jeff.
retort to it. That was I'm pretty sure I think
Didn't
we knew that
Ames-
from either 2 or 3 as well.
Okay,
Wait,
okay.
Because
We knew that the Lale Lule Lo was the Patriots.
Yeah, because I think I had it in my notes, but go ahead, Jack.
after the Virtuous mission in Metal Gear Solid 3, there is Major Thomas saying, like, the response to Snake saying, "Who are the Patriots?" is Lalelu Lelo. So there's that one confirmation. And then there's also in Metal Gear Solid 2 when the Marines, like, general or colonel sees Ocelot, he's like, the Lalelu Lelo. And at the end of the game, we know that Ocelot is working with the Patriots. So, like, you can connect that there.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
So I turned back to my MGS2 notes. Ames is in on the Lollywillow, and he's telling Raiden about all that stuff. Ocelot's watching on, like he knows everything that's happening. And then, like Jack said, it's revealed that Ocelot's in with the Patriots, and that's the crossover there. And the cyborg ninja, who was Olga, was a messenger for the Lollywillow, and she was doing that because the Patriots had her child. So, like, the Lollywillow, like, she wouldn't be working for the Lollywillow unless the Patriots wanted it, because they're one and the same. I think it's just a matter of, like, it seems like Lollywillow is a code name, maybe, or it was at one point, for people in the know about the Patriots to be like, hey, like, you know, like, I think that might have been what it is, but it definitely read to me the way that, I forget who just said it, but, like, Meryl used it as a retort of, like, Snake said, oh, the Patriots? And then Meryl said, Lollywillow? No. I think
That
that's...
interaction was very confusing to me because Snake was like, she was describing nanomachines, and Snake was like, oh, are the Patriots involved? And she was like, no, it's not. Anyways, this is called the Sons of the Patriots. And it's like, what?
Yeah, so
I didn't understand that.
the Sons of the Patriots are the people who agree to get the nanomachines. Is that what it is?
Yeah. That's
Okay.
like the system, I think.
It's the system in place that's making them do that, right?
Yeah.
So, like, by participating, they enter that system.
Yes.
So Sons of the Patriots is, like, the label for any soldier that has nanomachines.
SOP, baby.
SOPs.
I'm not gonna lie, my eyes definitely glaze over during that, like, bio-locking, ID locks, who's got what. Like, I'm in on the war economy stuff, but the specific natures of how it's, like, actually working kind of went over my head. But I don't know.
It was very much like an exposition dump.
Yeah.
The thing with this specifically is, like, at the time that this was coming out, I feel like all these topics were so big in the news and stuff about, like, war profiteering and stuff. Or maybe just at this point, I guess it feels like it's, been beaten in. I mean, it's an important topic, right? But, this specific war has gone on for a while. And I feel like, it's not nearly as insightful as, not that it has to be as insightful as 2 was, but it's a lot of explaining stuff that I feel like everyone kind of knows. Maybe they don't, but
Yeah. I mean, also, I think, because it is a sequel to 2 more than it is a sequel to 3, right? Like, because it's payoff for all that stuff, right? So I think 2 throws a lot of ideas out there, and 4 is following up on some of those ideas. So I think because 2, like, throws out all those concepts, like, I think any way you look at it, trying to realize those concepts in a way that would have consequences in that universe, it is going to be pretty, like, surface level to a degree, right? Like, I think if you want to do a Star Wars comparison, right, like, if 2 is Empire and then Return of the Jedi is paying off of what happens in Empire, that's what 4 is doing here, I think. Because, like, all that stuff about, like, hey, the Patriots want, to control the news, they want to control people as much as they can. That didn't work out because of everything that went down in 2. What's their next answer? maybe it's the road that we got to here, because we do make a bit of a jump. They say distant future. Like, I think the Patriots, seeing what happened in 2, realizing that in a way that it can make sense after Metal Gear Solid 2, I don't know if there's a way for it in universe, in lore, to be as insightful, I guess, because what's your other option, maybe? Because it has to follow up on the consequences that and ideas from 2. So I don't know how else they would do that.
Do you think any of this goes back to that idea that Kojima wanted to stop making Metal Gear Solid after 2? I'm gonna make another one after 3, but Snake is gonna be old, so who knows? He's trying to wrap it up even more so.
Maybe, but I think an old grizzled Snake next to a Kojima who's kind of over it, I think, and we've only played the first fifth of this so far, but I think there's something that could be really interesting there, and maybe touch on cynicism. I don't know, but I think that there's potential as a follow-up to 2 for this game to have maybe not super deep commentary, but payoffs to a lot of the hanging threads of 2 that are satisfying, if that makes sense.
Yeah, totally. Sorry, I gotta stop bringing up Metal Gear Solid 2.
No, I think it's relevant, because this is picking up immediately after, or not immediately, but it's the next chapter after that,
I just looked it up. This is 2014. This game takes place in the MGS timeline.
Whoa.
I have 2 things to bring up about Johnny. Not shit related.
How'd you find 2 things that weren't shit related?
Exactly. So his name is they refer to him as Akiba, and I was like, why do they call him that? And I looked it up. Akiba is a shortening of Akihabara in Tokyo, Japan, which is as far as I'm aware, it's very much centered around video games and nerd culture. So kind of speaking to his character. Thought that was cool.
Persona.
Yeah. Also, the he mentioned that he's a soldier for 10 years, and wasn't there, I don't know the answer to this, so I'm just asking, wasn't there a soldier in MGS1 who shits his pants? Was
Metal Gear Solid 1 2004 or 5? Was that it?
It was in 5, yeah.
Oh yeah, then man, that's gotta be him, right?
Isn't that the thing? Right?
We are now talking about Liquid Ocelot. I think in the final episode of MGS2, I called him Liquid Ocelot by mistake, because I thought that was just known. I forgot that was a reveal, but maybe I didn't. But yeah, it always made sense to me. No, that's a 4 thing.
They also changed the actor back from Liquid's British voice to Ocelot's voice, because in MGS2, when it was just Ocelot without Liquid's control, he was speaking with Ocelot's voice actor, and then when Liquid would take control, it would be Liquid's voice actor. But in this game, Liquid is in control, and it's still Ocelot's voice actor. So it's I don't know what the deal is with that. Maybe there's just it's just the sort of the perfect union now, and Ocelot just has his voice, but it is Liquid in control. I don't know what the whole deal with that is.
Well, what do you think about that American brother?
Yeah, it's different. It's definitely different. Brother, that's the cadence he said it with.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, brother.
I wish they just committed to that. That would be great. But Omar, did you have a question about?
Release the left and gas. What? Sorry.
Did you have a question about Liquid Ocelot? It sounded like you were.
Did I have? Oh, no one likes me when I bring this up, but I'm gonna do it, and I'm sorry. And Metal Gear Solid 2, in a lot of ways, was an ultimate fuck you for Metal Gear Solid 1 fans. But in 4, the big bad is Liquid again. We just calling him Liquid, and it's a brother versus brother thing again. Do you feel like that is a fan service moment? And it doesn't even have to be bad, but this is one for the fans. No.
I'd say no, because
Okay.
if it's not that way in Metal Gear Solid 2, because 2 is the one that introduces this concept. They just gave him a new name this time.
Sure.
So I didn't think it was an issue in 2, or not that it was an issue. I didn't think it was fan service in 2, and I don't think it is here either. Because like,
But
again, it's payoff for something 2 set up. And I thought it worked there. I think it works here, and it's it's like what Jack said. I think it's like a perfect union almost at this point, where it's like it is Ocelot, and Ocelot has a history with Big Boss, as we saw in Snake Eater. He has a history with, I guess, the line of Big Boss between working with Liquid and fighting Solid Snake, and he's got history and baggage with the Big Boss line. Liquid's got baggage and history with it, so like, it's a weird way to get resolution from like Liquid and Ocelot for Big Boss and Solid Snake, but I think it's not a new concept because I mean obviously I'm revisiting, so I know that, but like seeing it at the end of 2, I was like, okay, yeah, cool, excited to eventually follow up with this in 4, and here we are doing it. So I personally don't think so, but
it just feels like Ocelot isn't even there. I guess at this, or like Campbell's like, we found Liquid. Everyone's talking about Liquid, and where's the Meow Cat Man? Where's he in all this? Where's right? But yeah, no, it's no biggie. Just asking. The Playboy is fan service though, right? That's for horn dogs.
yeah.
Okay,
Is that
agree.
a Mafia 2 situation where you can actually read them?
I'm not sure. If you read the description though, it says 80-year-old like men 18 to 80 get off on that, which was an unpleasant thought.
It did say in the menu also beneath that on how to place it, and it's like, or if you want to read it, do it this way. So
You didn't investigate any further, Christian?
I did not. I was too busy using that octo camo.
I'll take one for the team. I'll look into it.
Thank you, Jack.
You're welcome.
You're our strongest soldier.
Got those nano
Or
machines.
weakest, depending on how you look at it.
But Jack, I'm curious to hear what you think about Liquid Ocelot, though.
I think it makes sense. Like, Liquid has been, for at least like the metal for Solid Snake story, he's been the sort of through line from 1 into 2 and now with 4. So like I think it makes sense because he gets away in Metal Gear Solid 2. He effectively wins and like just gets away and does his own thing. And seemingly was in like search of the Patriots and wanting to kill them. I'm sure that changed when he figured out like the Wiseman's committee was dead, as we found out at the end of the game. Now I think he wants to control SOP, which I think is what they say at the end of Act 1. So I feel like that lines up where he was at first in search of the Patriots and now is just in search of trying to control Sons of Patriots. So I felt like that fit for me. It didn't seem like it was just kind of thrown in there.
Yeah, and one thing I'll add on too is like, because presumably with 2, Liquid had the potential to take over at any point. He was just waiting for the right time. So, because Ocelot works for the Patriots, right? And that's why he was the prime candidate for all that. So, I think, especially coming off of 3, like seeing Liquid Ocelot here, like Ocelot just being used as a tool, I think is interesting because he was never really, like you said, Jack, he was never really like Solid Snake's opponent, I guess. Like he kind of, I mean, he wasn't really in 2 either because we weren't playing as Snake. Like, it's definitely something that I've been, looking at of maybe not Ocelot's like a tragic character, but like he's fallen through and he's become a tool for all of this at the expense of Liquid, and it was a ticking clock in all of 2 for that inevitability. So yeah, like I completely see where you're coming from, Omar, and I understand that sentiment for sure, though.
Yeah, you've actually changed my mind, and now I realize that Metal Gear Solid 2, a flawless game, actually has one flaw, and it's bringing Liquid back.
Yeah, I mean, I think when we talked about that too, though, I don't think you loved it
I'm
when
not
we
sure.
were
I can't
talking about
remember
it. I don't remember. But-
anything anymore. I
So-
come up with new opinions every week. I'm sorry.
So, is there anything else that we've missed so far? Like, do we want to talk about the frogs and exiting the building or anything specific?
Well, can I talk about the cutscenes for a moment? I briefly
Sure.
touched on this, but I love the cutscenes in this game so much. I feel like maybe just because this is I feel like maybe like the first like mature movie thing or game I played, but the way the camera moves is like it's got that good shaky cam look to it that feels kind of like, oh my god, I'm on a battlefield, and it's just freaky. Like there, like you look at this game next to like Modern Warfare, which came out around the same time. Like Modern Warfare feels a little more, I could play that and probably sign up and enlist and do my duty, but answer the call even. But in this one, it's like I don't want to go there. I don't. It's just scary. It's that horror element of Metal Gear Solid again. I think all that shit looks really fucked up.
Yeah, I think that's
Yeah.
a good thing to bring up.
I agree. I feel like this, like Kojima has always been on the trajectory of like trying to tell a cinematic story within the realm of video games, and I feel like already this is his most cinematic game, like just within Act 1. Like codec conversations that used to progress the plot, specifically in MGS1 and to a large extent in MGS2, have mostly been replaced with cutscenes so far. And I think they use them in very good ways, and I think like especially once we're in like cutscene mode, I feel like the game really shines in terms of its beauty, and I think the performances within the cutscenes are pretty great, and I'm very excited to see what's next.
Like Jack, I remember you mentioning like Metal Gear Solid 3 having like kind of like whack editing, but in terms of the cutscene stuff, I feel like in this one it's like pretty perfect. Or I love the cuts in here. Like it always looks like it's very exciting to watch. And obviously that soundtrack too is like incredible. Like I don't know if we talked about that at all, but it always hits during those moments.
The opening, I think the opening cutscene with Old Snake riding on the truck and the music going there is pretty incredible. The lone guitars at certain points gave me a lot of Last of Us vibes from the composer there, so I like that sort of comparison between the two.
There's that moment where Snake is telling Meryl, like, I think Meryl goes, so the age of heroes is over, and Snake is like, I'm no hero, never was, never will be, which is classic line from Metal Gear Solid 4, but the guitar, the old Snake theme or something kicks in there, and it's so good.
Yeah, I agree. I think the way it's presented is in the line of what we've seen so far, definitely like the most cinematic and hitting that vision that Kojima wants out of all of his stories. But and we're all aware that there are long cutscenes in this game, so I think it'll be interesting to check in on that in the future for upcoming episodes. But like, I don't even know how much I would like what percentage of a split I'd say between cutscenes and gameplay there were this week. I definitely felt like I had the controller resting more than being active this week, but I don't know if I'm misremembering.
Christian, I got a question for you. Oh, go ahead, Jack or Kevin. Sorry.
I was gonna say real quick. I read, this might be untrue. I read somewhere online that this was the whole game is like 50-50 cutscene gameplay. In terms of how much, I would have to fact check that, but that's what I read.
Interesting. Omar, what were you gonna throw out there?
Well, I remember, like, I feel like maybe a while ago we might have been talking about, like, your whole method of, like, watching the movie of Metal Gear Solid 4 rather than, like, playing it. Or maybe you had, like, concerns about the way this game played. or you know, what do you think about actually playing it now? Like, it definitely mechanically it's a video game, right? Like, it's
Yeah.
got a lot of stuff going for it.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel like you're getting more from actually playing it than just watching the video on YouTube? Like,
I think so, and like that was the thing I wanted to see. I think going into this playthrough, right? Because at the time, at least, I was like, oh, people always say it's basically a movie. It's just a lot of cutscenes. So how much am I losing by not playing it? But I definitely feel like maybe it's also because we're playing it sequentially with all the others, but definitely feel like I'm retaining more. I feel like the stakes are like actually. I feel it. I'm less confused. like, um, and I think maybe it's speaking to just how maybe we don't notice this, but playing a game and getting a story out of a game really relies on you engaging with it, not just watching it, I guess, sometimes. So I think that's pretty interesting. But yeah, I've definitely been way more in, I think, now. And again, it's the first couple hours, but than I was back then. Because back then, like, I was still a fan of the series, right? Like, I had played one a couple times before I did that entire initiative, but seeing four, play out the way it plays out, it's like, oh, this is cool. Oh, that character, that's neat, that's fun. But it definitely feels like it's more rewarding, for sure. And I I feel mostly positive about what I played this week. I think because it's a mix of nostalgia and actually feeling like it's new at the same time, kind of, I guess.
yeah, cool. I definitely feel like this game was always kind of like didn't get its props for some of the gameplay stuff.
We are now talking about the division between cutscene and gameplay because Kevin is a big fan of how the game plays.
Um, I will say I'll like reiterate or like maybe explain my thoughts. I don't know if I came off as negative of MGS4 having too many cutscenes. That's just sort of the meme.
Mm-hmm.
I really like everything that happens in the cutscenes, and I don't mind putting down the controller for an extended period of time. Like, obviously we'll get to like some pretty extended cutscenes, but I think they're all integrated in the story very well. And since they take the place of codec calls essentially in this game, I feel like it fits mostly well.
Yeah, I agree. I think the cutscenes, like we've all praised so far, I think like I'm really interested in what they're doing and what they're saying. Like obviously some of the stuff I think has the potential to make you glaze over, like what Omar said about like the SOPs and stuff about all that stuff. That was a good chunk into a cutscene, and then they just throw that new thing at you. So I think there's that potential for sure, but for me at least, I do enjoy the cutscenes. I don't think it's a negative for me. But
I feel like it's legit a good action movie.
yeah.
Like, we haven't really got too many of those, I feel like, but this one owns. And like we don't really get like these, or maybe we do, these mature like CG movies. Like there's the Resident Evil films, and I guess like Advent Children and Kingsglaive. Like, for some reason, I'm not nearly as compelled by those as I am as this. Like, why aren't CG movies like this a big thing? Why couldn't someone like make something like this? Is it just too expensive? Or would no one care? I see, like, there was this clip on Twitter trending last week of the Resident Evil CG movie of this insane gunfight that you could not do in live action. You saw that? Okay. I don't think you could pull that off in live action, and I think that is Metal Gear Energy too. Like, I think that's what I would want from one of those. But I don't know. Maybe who's the guy? Get Christopher McQuarrie to do it. I don't know. Someone could make a cool live action Metal Gear, I'm sure. But
do we have any other talking points you want to hit on? Anybody? I sort of trailed off once we got to the stuff at the end with Liquid. Like I didn't really find too much else to go in on in my session, but did anybody have anything else? Like, we talked a bit about Drebin. Do we want to talk more about Drebin?
I like the Drebin gun customization stuff and the meta of just either killing or finding a bunch of dead bodies and getting all their guns to be automatically sold, and then going into a shop and buying like silencers and sights and all that sort of stuff. I think that's really cool. Honestly, I forgot that was a mechanic in this game, and I was like, damn, I feel like MGS4 really, like, it feels like it would still be a modern game in some regards with all the level of customizations.
I brought this up earlier when we touched on Drebin, because I wanted to come back to it when we like really talked about Drebin, but I don't know if I misunderstood this or thought there was more here, but I think that they were implying that if you're killing people, the price of stuff in the shop goes up. Like, if you're stealthy and you're not killing people often, then prices will stay lower, because like if there's more conflict, then the prices are higher. I think that might have been what they were implying. That could be completely not true. I didn't do much shopping this week, but if that is a system going on in the background, I wouldn't be surprised. But I don't know if anybody else has an answer to that or thinks I'm insane, but
I didn't realize that, but that sounds super cool, to be honest, and something that would be in here, like, for sure.
I'd be interested to get a check. Are we all doing pacifist? What's up? Because I was tranking people up until the frogs.
I killed 51 people in this episode.
Okay.
I fully intended on playing this like MGS3 and like getting no kills, but yeah, exactly what you said, Christian. Once you get to the frogs, it's like, I was trying to trank them, and I was like, fuck this. Like, it's just, I don't think the game wants you to do that. And something I noticed when I was playing through this game was that, like, this game just kind of wants you to tear shit up at certain points, and it's really fun to do that. Like, when you're sort of forced into those moments, and it's like, all right, let's pull out the M4 and just go to town. It's so fun, and I feel like there are totally still stealth moments of this game, like 100%. But once you get into those action moments, I think this game shines in that regard, where it does have strike the balance quite well between the two. So I'm tearing shit up when needed.
Did you ever get, like, because you played the previous games on normal, did they ever give you a trank gun on normal modes in those games, or
like an easy gun?
Not an easy gun, but like, just a trank gun in general. Like, did you have one before?
Yeah, that's what I was using in 2 and 3. They had like the MK22 like you do in this, but the suppressor in MGS3 would obviously like deteriorate, and this one is just always there.
Okay, because I think I remember. I feel like in 2 you didn't start with one, right? Or maybe you did, because we did on easy, but
you have to find it in Strut F.
I see.
In MGS2. Yep.
Well, I think as far as my notes go, I don't have anything else to bring up.
I got a few more things, if you don't mind. I'll get us done in like 5 minutes before the Resident Evil thing. Don't worry, I got your back. The first thing I wanted to bring up is the eggs look so good. They look really good. Those are some good looking eggs. That was a video,
right?
I don't think it was. I think it was a CG pre-rendered thing.
Okay, because those looked like real hands. I know there was a filter on it, but it looked like real hands.
It could be
too real.
It could be a video. I'm not sure. I mean, it looks really good. But whoever that, yeah. I don't think we need Kevin on this podcast anymore. Anyways, the person on the doing the eggs, I think, is saying some numbers. I don't know what the numbers mean, Mason, but the is that the Metal Gear theme right there? Okay. Yeah, like the 1, 2, 3, 456 or something. I don't know. It's like we had that story about it being plagiarized and not being in here, but I guess it is kind of in here. I kind of forgot. So that's cool.
That's awesome. I did not pick up on that.
Yeah. And the second thing I wanted to bring up, before I do, let me preface this saying I actually am really enjoying this game. I had a pleasant time playing this again today, and it's holding up better than I thought it would as well. But I do feel like, that cutscene where they bring out the 4, bosses or whatever, the freak team in this game. That one they want you to think it's Psycho Mantis. Like, I feel like that was another moment of like, okay, we're doing that again. But it's a great cutscene otherwise. Not even that that's a problem, but I felt like that was another like fan give me right there. Like, they're back. I don't know.
Yeah, I see that. I did not realize it, I don't think, until you said it, but yes, I see that for sure.
Snake goes, it can't be, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think they're also, like, in that initial encounter with Snake and the Gecko, like, there's the two of them. I think they're, like, curled up on the back of the one that's, like, stomping the box out.
Oh, really?
I think. Yeah, because I noticed that. I was like, wait, what are those orbs? And I was like, oh, I think I know what those are.
Jeez.
But,
yeah, I think if you mash X during that, you will get the Psycho Mantis character model or something. But
so mashing X, because I only did it the first time and I was like, I don't need this. Mashing X, does it give you a bunch of different things, or is it just the same image?
It gives you like
It's a bunch.
Yeah.
Okay.
You gotta just keep tapping it.
Yeah, because the thing is, I did it the first time with the snake in the cemetery, and I was like, this is hiding stuff from the actual present day. I don't want to do this. So that's why I stopped. But
it's only like 2 seconds. They purposely, if you don't hit X, they purposely like film it where it's like a static image of Snake just standing there, right? So that, because the game kind of wants you to keep tapping X, so the cutscene itself is just sort of still for like a few seconds.
Okay, so we'll do our typical roundup, final thoughts on week 1, looking ahead to week 2, and plugging what we want to plug. So I'll just go in the rotation I'm used to saying. Jack, what's up? What do we got?
Sure. You can follow me on social media at Fascinated Jack. I was very nervous coming into this game because I held this game in very high regard in terms of the Metal Gear games. And I have been completely blown away by the first act. I didn't realize the gameplay was that up to snuff compared to some modern games that I really enjoy, even some modern Metal Gear games that I really enjoy. I think the game still, in some regards, it shows its age in terms of how it looks, but in other ways, I think it's a really beautiful game, and I was very surprised by that. So yeah, I feel like my anxiety about this game has been washed away in some regard, but obviously we have 4 more acts to get through, so I'm sure there's some things that I won't necessarily love about this game, but I'm already very enamored with it so far, and I am probably going to immediately jump into it immediately after this recording to just get through Act 2, because I wanted to play through as soon as I stopped playing.
Very nice. And did you plug things yet? Did you want to shout anything out?
Twitter.com/FascinatedJack.
Very nice. Omar, let's hear your thoughts looking ahead to next week, and what do you want to shout out?
Yeah, this game's awesome, and I think I probably shouldn't have played it when I was 10, because it's pretty violent, and I'm fucked up now. But, yeah, it's been a treat, and I'm excited. I don't know. I apologize about getting up about the the fan service thing. I don't really mean it, but
we all have to have the same opinions, Omar.
Okay, you're right. What was I talking about? Yeah, plugging. I'm on twitch.tv/ohmsachef. every Sunday, Monday, Thursday. I think that's it. For 6 hours, I've been playing Resident Evil 4 on my Wii. What a classic!
Yeah.
What an incredible game. Thanks for being there, Christian. It's been fun. Yeah, come check me out. Did I say twitch.tv/ohmsachef.com? That's one I have. Check it out.
Oh, very nice.
Ooh, yeah.
You can find Kevin Diaz, youtube.com/PlayStation Source, as well as PS Source vids on Twitter. Very nice. Final thoughts on this week. I'm pleasantly surprised because, I think the PS3 games that I've played recently, they aged fine mechanically, right? Like revisiting The Last of Us or the Uncharted games or messing with Red Dead again. It's like, okay, this is still fine. GTA 5, they're good enough, right? But I think Metal Gear Solid 4, because it's maybe or one of the earliest PS3 games I've played at this point, and having only watched it, I was nervous going in. I was like, especially after Snake Eater, it's like, is this gonna feel good? Is it gonna be I'm just gonna wish I was playing 5, but no, it's plays really well considering all the issues I had with Snake Eater. So I'm loving that. It feels great with Kevin just to see Solid Snake again and continuing on his path and seeing what's up there. Because for 90% of Snake Eater, I was just tuned out, I think, of any sort of emotional connection with anything. So that's been a lot of fun. Moving forward, I'm looking forward to see what I remember and, certain elements that may or may not have gameplay tied to them. I'm interested to see how we build off of what we did this week. And yeah, if you want to follow me on anything, Twitter, Twitch, and TikTok, Chun2D2, as well as here, youtube.com/joyclicks is where you are for the video version of this podcast, and the playlist that is beginning now, Longplay Club Metal Gear Solid 4, will be its own playlist, alongside all of our other podcasts and all the other all the other series and seasons of the Longplay Club so far. If you want the audio version, though, you can check it out on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or any other podcast service that you choose. If you can rate or review on that platform, it would be very much appreciated if you did, because you're already following along if you were following along before, because it's the same podcast feed. So if you left a review before, thank you. If you haven't yet, a little tap real quick, feels good. And if you want to get involved further, patreon.com/joyclicks. There's the $1 and $5 tiers. $5 tier gets you producer credit on all of our podcasts, like Chris Sakas and Aaron Easton. So thank you very much. But that is it for Act 1, I guess, of Metal Gear Solid 4 Guns of the Patriots. Any sign-off that we got?
Actually, I have something before we do that, before we sign off, that I forgot to bring up. But the Metal Gear Solid official Twitter account did tweet this week.
Oh,
did you see this? Yeah, they've been teasing something. They've been talking to a Twitter account that's seems like an anagram of Ocelot, and they're talking about big shell stuff. Did you guys not see this?
No.
Is this real?
This is real. I'll post the link or the Metal Gear.
You're getting me too excited.
Yeah, don't get too excited, because there are theories right now about this. Yeah, okay, here it is. It seems like they're teasing an event or something next week, but potentially there's an Oculus event next week, and that was one thing people were thinking. But also, there's all these Microsoft rumors right now, so I don't know. Buy an Xbox, Kevin. Let's do it. Let's make the deal. Let's make a deal.
I'm buying one this week. Just buy one.
Just buy an Xbox. What's the point? Free your mind.
Yeah, didn't you get the vaccine? Don't you want to buy Microsoft products now?
Yeah. MLB The Show is free on Game Pass. Come on, Kevin. $60 you save.
That's very interesting. I'm going to look into this, and if Metal Gear is back, what a perfect time to do this, and we can absolutely talk about that if something happens.
Man,
that sounds fantastic.
April 30th is coming up.
I'm having heart palpitations now. Jesus.
Yeah, oh my goodness. Oh, God. Okay. Well, we'll see what becomes of this. But until then, who wants to do? There you go.